4 minutes to 4, so I think we should get the discussion on. And welcome everybody. Thank you, Antonio and CheKin, for setting this meeting, setting this discussion up with very different parts of the short-term rental industry, which is in a situation of a lockdown, a situation of a COVID-19 pandemic crossing whole of Europe and the whole of the entire world, changed everything. And it's crazy to think about 3 months ago, many of us were in London at the Short Stay Show. We were traveling all over the world. The Guesty show in Tel Aviv, LuggageHero were expanding. We had a completely different world, and now everybody eagers to go back to business. So let me start to just make a short introduction of the 4 speakers here. You could say a few words on yourself, and then we would like to use the next 40 minutes to find out how will things change eventually in the coming months, in the short run, in the longer midterm run, and in the long run, and what will be the short-term rental industry ahead. Our host today is CheKin, Antonio Bustamante, and I would like you just to say a few words on your business and how you see things. Please make an intro.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Carlos, for the intro, and thank you all the panelists for being here. My name is Antonio. I'm co-founder and CEO of CheKin, and our mission is to help the tourism industry to transition it from the traditional in-person check-in to a 100% digital and frictionless experience. We are present across Europe and other 5 countries outside Europe. Yeah, happy to be here and happy to discuss with you.
Very interesting. Yes, indeed. One of the topics in the future will be digitalization. Welcome also to you, Sheli Grumet from Guesty. You have indeed the finger on the industry because you work with a lot of property managers in our industry. Tell us, how do you see things, and also tell us a little bit about Guesty and what you're doing. Please.
Yeah, so first, thank you to CheKin for inviting us to be here. Really excited to be here today. So for anyone here that's less familiar with Guesty and what we do, Guesty is a property management software that specifically focuses on short-term rental. We streamline and automate, the complex businesses and operations that property managers face in their daily operations. And our system offers a really robust solution from staff management to homeowner reporting to channel management to guest communication, right? All the way to a marketplace with over 60+ vendors to choose from and integrate with, which many of, everybody here is a part of that marketplace partnership. So, we really provide an end-to-end solution so property managers can focus on one thing, which is growth.
Fantastic. And that's what we need. We need growth because we have to win back what was lost, and we need to find out. Well, I will continue with you, Oliver Summers from LuggageHero, based in Copenhagen, but actually present also globally now with clever solutions to short-term rental and other industries. Tell us about how you see things. And
so how we see things, or what we do, just to keep it in line with the others, is, my name is Oliver, and thank you, Antonio. So LuggageHero is also present in the short-term ecosystem. We are an on-demand luggage storage service, which mission is to set travelers free everywhere. And we do so by enabling local shops, hotels, restaurants to publish their free space on our platform, where travelers, especially people staying in short-term rentals, booking via property managers, can search among our thousands of storage places in 40 different countries across Europe and in the US as well. And they do so by picking a place that's convenient to their travel plans, while their bags are insured for €2,500.
Great. Interesting, and interesting how things will develop. Thank you very much, Oliver. We'll just finish the line, and we have Doinn with us, Novella, based in Madrid. and you certainly are also a part of the short-term rental industry and the future. Tell us about how you see things and how what you're doing in your company.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Noelia, Novella, CEO and co-founder of Doinn, the housekeeping platform for rentals. I fell in love with our industry in 2013 during a round the world trip with my family, including 2 babies, and it was a great experience, but not always felt safe. And I always say that the cleaning thing is like something very personal. I don't mean clean for me. It's definitely never clean for my mom, or maybe not for you, right? But somehow the cleaning standards of the hotels make people feel safe. So I thought it would be handy to be able to get the same cleaning companies and the same linen rental providers they have, but for the vacation rentals. So back from our trip, I reached those companies and I asked them, what do you need to work for the vacation rentals? And we have been basically creating tech for the last 5 years to make this happen, helping local providers to become a little bit more efficient, to grow their business, and to make sure they follow the right operation procedures, the protocols, and so on. And since then, we have made a lot of guests to feel safe, and a lot of property managers to feel happy in the more than 100 cities where we are. But now, since COVID hit, it seems our value proposition makes more sense than ever, right? And cleaning and disinfection finally means safety, but it actually always meant it, right? And it's nice to follow protocol and checklists. It's definitely better than nothing, but cleaning is a profession, right? And professionals bring safety in every aspect, and we can think about engineers or architects, but even in the cleaning part. So yeah, that's our mission here.
Thank you, Noelia. And indeed, the standards of cleaning is something that will have a lot of focus in the future, also after such a pandemic. No, it's a great crowd we have here, and I think it's an example of the maturity and the development of the short-term rental industry. 5 years ago, we would be in the short-term rental industry discussing one property manager with another. The platforms had been around for some years, so maybe a platform would be there. And now you guys, CheKin with the digitalization of the whole process when you make the check-in at the short-term rental capacity. Sheli, you and Guesty really also revolutionized the way property managers can communicate, expand, grow the industry. Oliver, 5 years ago, nobody would have thought about making a business of the luggage between check-in and arrival, or arrival and check-in and the departure and the flight. And now we see a prospect of opportunity of business. And you guys at Doinn also cleaning was something, as you say, well, maybe it was the owner themselves going around cleaning, self-cleaning, still around where the guests makes things ready for the next guest. And sometimes it's good. If it's a German, it's very clean. And someone else, maybe it differs. So this group is quite interesting as a picture of how the industry has developed, and in 5 years from now, well, it will be even more technical, digitalized, integrated, and integrated with the rest of society. So first of all, you guys, thinking about how we can develop things, how do you see short-term rental in the future? Just a few words. Let's keep on with following you as we talked before. So Antonio, from a CheKin perspective, in short, how do you think short-term rental will be affected in the short term and also on the long term of this COVID? Please.
So I think short-term rentals and vacation rentals, I think would be less affected than hotels, just because the security that provides to guests that wants to go, to a remote location, not meeting with other people in a hotel lobby, things like that. Yeah. And also, I think it's gonna require a lot of professionals managing this accommodation, so it's gonna be less amateur. So I think at the beginning, the whole collaboration economy was more based about I'm renting my house one time or other. And now it's people that their work is to manage this accommodation. So from that point of view, it's going to become more technological. It's going to become more professional. And in the long term, I think there's going to be more concentration of offer in big property managers rather than small professional companies that might manage 5 to 10. So I think would be first, short-term rental going to be less affected, and then in the long term, more professionals managing these vacation rentals.
Yeah, interesting. Sheli, on to you. How do you, from a Guesty perspective, see the effect of this pandemic in the next coming time, from short term and to the longer term?
Yeah. So in the short term, I think we're going to see a significant uptick in reservations. When countries are now exploring travel bubbles, as we like to call it, right? Making deals with one another, like Austria and Germany, for example, New Zealand, Israel, Cyprus, Greece. So again, you're going to see that these new deals are going to form and allowing travelers to go or citizens to go to specific countries. And you have a lot of pent up aggression, so to say, from all of these lockdowns and a lot of things that were missed, like anniversaries, honeymoons, Zoom weddings that occurred, right? So a lot of different things that are really going to promote a really big surge in travel once these deals form. Now, what this means for the property manager means that, they're going to need to pivot their marketing strategies. Right now, we saw a lot of marketing strategies target domestic travelers, whether it was advertising workspace or a home away from home, or, being perfect for an essential worker while they're dealing with frontline activity for COVID-19, different things like that. So it definitely was a focus there. But now property management companies will need to turn and pivot their focus to targeting specific guests from specific countries that are allowed in their own countries, right? So they're going to need to really pay attention to these regulations, and definitely take make sure that their marketing strategies are targeted. Now, in the long term, I think the major trend that we're predicting is a hybrid property management company, because we saw a lot of midterm rentals start shifting, property managers shifting from short term to midterm due to the average length of stay, growing in number of days, right? So you're going to see property management companies take on flexible rentals, meaning it's not about how long they're really originally intending that property to be. They're going to maximize occupancy to reach 100%, whether that's 6 months, 2 days, 9 months, and you're going to start seeing a lot of those business models, I think, come about.
Interesting, very interesting. We'll come back to that. Thank you very much, Sheli.
Yeah.
Oliver, LuggageHero, I suppose you're ready to also deliver on what Antonio and Sheli talked about, the short term and long term. How do you see things, and how did things go? Tell us.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very interesting to hear just what Sheli is mentioning about, putting the occupancy rate up to 100% and kind of mixing between long term and short term. How I see it is probably on a bit more holistic level, is that if we actually look at the history of short term rentals during crisis and depression, if we go back to the 30s, there was a Great Depression. People did not have a lot of money, and what was actually flourishing in that period was the boarding houses, which were renting out to budget cautious travelers and people needing luggage. But then as the economy kind of picked up again in the 40s, we saw that the homeowners was less dependent on supplementing their mortgage. And at the same time, travelers was actually picking up staying at cheap motels and hotels, which was then, thriving up until 2008, where the Great Recession struck, and also the year that Airbnb actually launched their service. So I think there's a red line between an economic crisis and people actually looking for financially being able to make ends meet by a sharing economy platform. And I think the short-term rental industry is actually able to prosper in periods where the economy is in a turmoil. So if we look at the future in the short term, the COVID-19 has definitely strained the economy, and it's also put a huge blow to the short-term rental hosts across the world. And I think there will be an even greater commitment from hosts to participate in the sharing economy now, because even though it might be driven by pure necessity, then I can easily imagine a person having to have lost their job or cut in salary, trying to supplement their income by renting out extra space. So my prediction, short-term, long-term, is that when travel again is resuming, I think there will be even more units available in the market. And I anticipate also that we will see an even greater demand for more budget conscious travelers seeking affordable budgeting.
Yeah, very interesting, Oliver. Indeed, I think you have also some very important points there. So we'll come back to them as well. Noelia, how about the product? And if Oliver is right, it's a more budget product, then maybe the standards will not follow? Or do you think that we need to step up as an industry on cleaning standards, for example? Give it a take. How do you see things?
Well, I mean, yeah, the cleaning, the expectations with regards cleaning are basic, okay? And if those expectations are not met, it doesn't matter how amazing is the place, and if they can do yoga with a yogi in your place, they won't be happy, okay? So that's the minimum thing they're expecting. The difference now, and I know, and I have a lot of clients that have been working with us for many years. I've been telling them to communicate about they were having professional cleaning, but it's like it has never been glamorous, right? Like, who wants to talk about cleaning? But right now it's like the most important thing to communicate that you are following all the protocols. If you have a professional cleaning company, even better to talk about it, and all the stamps and quality with regards cleaning you can get is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah. Also, recommendation not to have a lot of information about the COVID in the walls of the apartments. Okay, if the guest wants to have more information, in our case we do have a sticker. We kind of seal the main door with a QR, and if they want to know, they can scan the QR and get that information. But I think we are all done about getting information about COVID. Please do not talk like a big picture. We take care of the COVID. No, please, we need like holidays of that as well. But yeah, communication before the check-in will be interesting.
Indeed, indeed. Let's take a quick round and please try to put, let's see, 3 positive effects of the COVID and 3 negative effects on the COVID on the short-term rental industry. Antonio, you begin.
Yeah, so I would say positive effect would be digitalization of processes. Mm-hmm. Everything that can be digitalized is going to be digitalized in travel industry or in any other industry. Mm-hmm. Then short-term rentals versus hotels. As I said, I think it's going to be positive effect for the short-term rentals. And remote accommodations. Everything that is remote, is separated, is going to be more attractive than before. Negative effects or negative side will be business travel. I think the number of business travel is going to be reduced a lot.
It will be Zoom instead.
Yeah, Zoom all day. Yeah. No, I think, and then events that are a large group of people, like cruises or events, traveling for an event. Both things are going to be less likely to happen in the near future, and later on, I think people is going to be less comfortable in big group of people. So that would be the 3 of I would say.
That's very interesting. Thank you. That's good, Antonio. Sheli, what about you guys? How do you see 3 pros and 3 negatives?
Yes, first of all, I totally agree with Antonio with what he said. 3 positive effects that we're seeing, first of all, is short-term rentals and private lodgings are becoming more popular, right? So with the decline of face-to-face interactions and the actual need to still get away without having to deal with anybody in crowds and things like that, is really promoting short-term rental to be more ideal than other accommodation types. Number 2, hosts are going to be experimenting with flexible rentals, like I said earlier. So they're going to be able to open up their doors to more consumers, which is, again, more business opportunity. And then number 3, and again, I think, Antonio already said it, it's just going to speed up the adoption of technology that, consumers have, for a while they preferred, but maybe did not want to deal with and implement. But now it's going to be key for their business, like keyless entry, automated messaging, self-check-in, checkout, all of these, really important parts of their business. So that's the positive. On the negative side, I'll go really quickly because these are hard, right? Which is number 1, it's been really devastating. A lot of income has been lost and businesses have been closed. So we're seeing, a shift in major players in the industry and obviously businesses that are really trying to make it out. And that's just unfortunate. 2, international travel is going to take a lot more time to recover, which is something that, many depend on. And especially, in the tourism and travel sector. And 3, the uncertainty of when things are going to really go back and if it's going to go back at all, which is still lingering every day,
Very dire situation. We still are. We try to look at the pros, but we also know that.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Shelley. Thanks for that. Oliver, how do you see 3 pros, 3 cons, 3 negatives? Can you hear us? Oh, Oliver, we lost you.
Now I can hear. Now I can hear.
You go ahead. We can hear you.
All right. Perfect. No, I think I more or less concur with both Antonio and what Shelley is saying, that this crisis will bring opportunity, especially in the digitalization, in making it more digital, building systems. You can see that museum has done it for live events, etc. So I think that will push the innovation even further based on the consumer demand of having less human interaction and contactless experiences, etc. So I think that's definitely going to be one of them. Another thing which is pretty obviously and more on the short term is the carbon emission, which is very, very low at this current stage, but it obviously means some good things, not necessarily to the tourism sector, but also the fact that people might see, is it really necessary to travel 10,000 kilometers to go on vacation? Can you actually thrive in a domestic travel environment? So I think those are the 2 positive things that I can think of in the tourism sector, and maybe my glass is only half full, but I have 3 negatives as opposed to 2 positive. I think one of the most negative things is that many countries are largely dependent on the tourism. Countries like Spain and Italy, tourism travel contributes with 13 to 14% of their GDP, and Italy is likely to say that they have 60% less people in Italy this year, and Spain is losing around 55 million euros in 2020. So obviously that is negatively in itself, but what does it mean for the sector? What does it mean for people traveling? Obviously it would mean that just tourism labor jobs market is forecasted to have 75 million jobs at risk. So maybe the total cake of people traveling is also going to get smaller because of the recession that we're going to. And then last on the third thing is how welcome the visitors for different places will actually be. I mean, there is a negative perception of travelers being risk carriers. So some communities might not welcome them in the same way as they did before. And leading into that, then some of the areas that was local communities that experienced the over-tourism before the pandemic might want to reclaim the areas and not go back to the days prior to COVID-19.
Oh no, don't say that. Oh, I hate that. It's 5 old guys that don't have more time to use than to say, oh, we hate all the tourists. Maybe it's the contrary. Maybe people will say we really can see how boring Copenhagen looks like 50 years ago. You know everybody, there's nobody in the shops. Well, sorry. But we can risk that. Thank you, Oliver. We'll come back. Noelia, how do you see 3 pros and 3 minuses, also from a cleaning perspective?
Okay, definitely the safety part with regards to cleaning. I mean, it's a plus for me as a guest and also obviously as an entrepreneur, right? Focus on this. Also, something I like a lot is this professionalization and the fact that we are able to work remotely with these solutions. It also will help to many different locations, because I'm used to get like very professional vacation rentals in the main cities, but maybe you go to the coast and it's like an old lady and it's like, hello, I cannot be using this linen full of flowers, right? So yeah, it's a big opportunity here to take care of those of that inventory that is in the coast, that is in a small village, and thanks to all this technology, right? The negative part, well, there are a lot of very, very sad stories, but it worries me, all the employment loss. And we will see a lot of our colleagues, a lot of the people we know from the industry, that they lost their job. A lot of companies are going to close, a lot of companies already closed, and it is pretty heartbroken for me to see all these very talented people. And even worse, because the pandemic is bad, but it was already happening already. Remember all the people from Thomas Cook, remember the fusion between Verbo and HomeAway and Expedia. They put a lot of people out of the company. In our Airbnb, 25% of their team is very, very hard. And the problem here is that people that they still have a job, they are not taking risk anymore. They don't want to feel like getting noticed just in case they decided to fire them. And we actually need new ideas, and we actually need people taking risk more than ever, because we are in a new world, and the needs need to be explored. So we need people like, hey, I don't care if I lose my job, I'm just gonna try this and this and this. Otherwise, we're gonna get stuck in a world that doesn't exist anymore. So
yeah. No, but that's the reality we live in uncertainty. We don't know what will happen. We will lose economy, as you say, and that means people will not be able to afford. International tourism will be endangered, as you said, Sheli, and of course the good things, Antonio, as you say, CheKin and digitalization will have a bigger future. Everything where we can do things on remote will have a future. And Noelia, the old farmhouse isolated in the mountains in the Pyrenees will be very attractive. So that's good, but also we will lose the apartment in Barcelona because that will take a longer time, people coming in from the US, Australia, or whatever. So yeah, and let's use this last 10-15 minutes then to you guys must have been thinking a lot about how to help property managers to rebound, to come back on track with their businesses. What should they focus on? If you are a property manager, you think about the situation, how to get back on things and in practice. So Antonio, would you say that I have a property management company with 100 units. What should I do?
Yeah, so the whole idea of CheKin came because we have a company that manages property. So we are a property manager, and we use that as a lab now. Yes. So I completely get so I would say that I would focus in adapting to the new way of traveling. There are going to be new kind of tourism that, for example, is going to be those digital nomads going to new places and living. For example, people who live in London might go to Malaga because the good weather for 2-3 months, right? So I would think understanding the new trends and going to go for that 100%, taking the most of the market and the trends. So that would be one, just trying to be sure that I can offer what the market is demanding, and then using technology, obviously, for companies that are here, use technology and provide technology to make life easier. So I think if you provide technology to, give freedom for the guests and give freedom for the host, I think it's much easier. You reduce costs, you improve the experience. So I would say, as Sheli was saying before, try to use this time to prepare for the next year, because everything will bounce back, everything will be as a way as it was before. So try to adapt the new way people is going to travel, but also use this time to be prepared. So that would be the two things I would say.
Indeed, indeed. No, quite interesting. Also, the remote the technology possibilities that CheKin and others can offer could be the thing that makes your business more attractive than others, that you don't need to meet at the key delivery system, the passport, everything is taken care of. Sheli, you mentioned also some interesting points just before, also about how the market will develop. And you are in contact with a lot of property managers. And also, I think your focus on the short term is quite interesting, that you can actually be the winner if you know that now the borders are open to Austria. Let's get into the Austrian market because they are taking decisions now. And in 1 week, it will be another market and another place. How can the property managers adapt to that? How can you help out?
Yeah, so we did a, Guesty here did a real pivot when COVID-19, occurred and happened, where our whole focus was now really helping the short-term rental community and helping our users digest all of that information that was coming from many different sources and on a daily basis. I think we all remember that period, to now where there are really critical things to still pay attention to, like, different trends, different markets that are opening, and things like that. So first of all, to really promote this awareness and bring as much information as possible, we launched a COVID-19 resource center. We were doing many online free events to bring that information. And then we also did a survey with over 400 property managers that really, again, gathered in really key insight to helping reactivate and come about this crisis that we experienced. So number one, and this actually goes back to what Noelia was saying, right? Operations have to meet a new standard. They have to guests have to feel safe in the apartment. They have to know that they're going to come to a home away from home, right, and not get COVID-19, and know that they're not at risk, especially if they're bringing their families and doing everything they can to minimize that risk. So there are ways to do that, which is just even promoting in your listing title and your listing advertisement, your cleaning standard, promoting in the description how you're cleaning. Noelia said, give them a break, don't show it in the apartment. I actually really agree with that, but they still need to know while choosing, right? So help them make that choice and help them be secure in that choice. That's
the brand will be important. If you have a good brand, how?
So that's the second part, right? Which is, which is now that they have it, and you can brand yourself in different ways. So welcome boxes don't need to necessarily be, well, actually you should include a bottle of wine, still always include a bottle of wine, especially now. People still need wine. But put in a mask that has your brand, put in, tissue boxes, put in hand sanitizer that was huge in the US, literally sold out everywhere around the world, right? Not just the US. So different things that can still secure your brand, but also make your brand stronger, because not only are you showing that you're, understanding what your guests are looking for, but you're also welcoming the guest in a way that they need to be welcomed right now. And that's number one and number two. And then number three, which is actually really critical for strategies to recover and reactivate tourism, is rethinking cancellation and minimum stay.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of COVID, from both sides, right? Both the hosts and guests saw really many cancellations, many unknowns, many ability not to cancel their trips, because there was just an ongoing flow of cancellations, no cancellations, refunds, no refunds, travel vouchers to come back. It was unsure, unknown, because nobody had experienced this, right? So again, we're going back to giving security to the guests, and so what is that going to be? It means, again, playing around with this policy, playing around with minimum stay, minimum nights in between different stays, or even maybe issuing traveler's insurance or giving them the right traveler's insurance to buy and purchase, so that they can absolutely, again, book with you, but be secure and be safe. And all of that will really help.
I didn't see insurance systems nowhere in the world ready to and prepared for this kind of pandemic. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Insurance for everything, but an epidemic.
Yeah, so actually after 9/11, you saw an increase of travelers insurance being purchased. Again, they had to rethink another situation that could come about, right? You're going to see the same thing happen again now, with travelers insurance looking to find ways to include COVID-19 or have to cancel at for any means, right? That could be a way around it. Again, it might be a little bit more expensive, but losing the rest of the money because you had to do that cancellation, like a lot of guests experience and also a lot of hosts experience, right? Is also something that they're going to want to try and mitigate.
Interesting, very interesting. We are 5 minutes left, so Oliver, how do you see the possibility of getting back in business? And also, you as a service provider and helper to short-term rental, now if you come and say you have to pay a lot of money, they might think, okay, the box is empty. So how can the service providers engage and help out the property managers so we have a win-win situation?
Yeah, I think I just quickly want to start somewhere else, because I think this whole discussion is very interesting, because the situation, not only in terms of borders, but it's constantly evolving. Yeah. If I think back of March when Copenhagen or Denmark went into a lockdown, I mean, my anxiety levels was completely up here. But now society is opening. I'm going out to restaurants. I'm having a beer. I mean, I more or less live my life. And I know we've been spared in Denmark opposed to other countries. But my point is just how quickly will we actually go back to something that seems more normal? So yes, in the short term, and I'm not neglecting cleaning and I'm not neglecting anything else, because this, of course, brings a different level of service as well to the travelers. But it's just going to be interesting to see what will actually be important when traveling and travelers start booking and staying in short-term rentals again. Yeah. I fully believe that having a sign that you are following a standardized protocol in terms of cleaning is important. It's not something, as Sheli and Noelia is saying, that you should market as a USP, but just as a sign. But I think how the business is actually able to understand the guest needs to feel safe and how they communicate this understanding is very, very important. And that can be done, as I said, by showcasing these different things. And as Sheli also mentioned, in terms of also bringing more trust and reactivating the travel in terms of the short-term rentals, I mean, adopting your terms and conditions to cancellation policies, minimum stays, and all these things is from my perspective, and this is just my personal opinion, more important than the cleaning aspect right now, because what we've learned from the pandemic is that we don't know if the borders will be open for us to go and enjoy our holiday.
Interesting. Noelia, how do you use the rebound possibility and also with the cleaning perspective? And is Oliver right? Is cancellation more important now, or what is?
More than the cleaning. Or I don't want to talk about. I don't want to give my opinion as a cleaning company, but as an entrepreneur. And I believe this industry transforms into entrepreneur to a lot of people. But like in everywhere, there are entrepreneurs that keep evolving and learning and improving every day to get more properties, better occupation rates that we were talking, the right price, the right cost. Yeah. And this is a new world. So yeah, we really need to learn from scratch a lot of things. I don't know if you realize, but the OTAs are not making such a lot of marketing anymore, right? So now it's on us to communicate, us as a property manager, to communicate that, hey, we are here, we have always been. We don't really need so much the third party, although there are other risks about that, but we can see a clear book direct movement because the communication is less restrictive, because the booking process is easier as well. And we need to tag other targets as well, maybe older people, less tech savvy people. We need guests from everywhere. So we have to be very agile in terms of as a business people to adapt to the new world completely. And I agree, the cleaning is just a part of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Noelia. Yes. Well, I think the time is running up, so I'll just ask each and one of you just to give the last advice to property managers, but I really think one thing in common of what you all said was the adaptation, and that we are not able to see the situation. How is it now? Because tomorrow it will change, and yesterday it was very different from today. So there's a lot of interesting things, and adaptation and being entrepreneurs, as you said, Noelia, is very true. So quite interesting, and I would love to have this conversation again in 6 months. And
no, good idea.
So you go ahead, and then we take the last round with a quick word. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for coming, everybody. In my point of view, for property managers, I think long-term thinking, being prepared, and not over compromise for the short term. Now it's tough time, everybody knows that, but this is like a poker game that everybody has less chips, right? So everybody is in the same situation. Long-term thinking, try to be more strategic and use technology to use resources with more scalability. So that would be my approach.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you very much, and thank you, CheKin, for arranging this. Sheli, your last word on the situation.
Yeah, so first of all, to continue trying different strategies, that's very important. Whether it is flexible cancellation policies, stricter cleaning policies, different advertising, targeting different guests, or even, focusing on highlighting amenities to attract those guests so they know what they're coming and what they can, if they're in quarantine, that they can have things to do in the apartment and or property. So it really is just knowing who you're targeting, knowing, again, what you need to provide to that guest and how to attract them to your properties.
Yeah. Thanks, Sheli, and thanks a lot for being part of this discussion. Looking forward to it. Thanks. Oliver, take from here.
From here, yes. So, the 3 things that I have is just be more flexible on the terms and conditions, ensure and improve some sort of cleanliness standard, and then invest in contactless self-service, because this will be a consumer demand after Corona.
Thanks a lot, Oliver. I'm looking forward to follow you guys at LuggageHero. Quite interesting. I'm sure you will be back on track very, very soon. So good luck with that. Noelia.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you.
Welcome. The last word to you. What do you think?
I think it's time to use all those annoying WhatsApp groups with the neighbors and with the school, the parents of the school or whatever, to ask people if they have inventory that you can manage, because nowadays it's a fact that we can manage properties remotely. And right now, if you ask for the market wants to go to the beach, so and to rural, right? So please do it. We need them to have a good first experience, because 2020 is going to be the first year in a vacation rental for a lot of people, and it's healthy for all of us that they have a really good experience. So we need professionals in those small villages as well. It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. We'll meet again, as the English Queen said. No, but standardization, being able to adapt, being able to think in technology and remote control, that's some of the topics. And I think we all feel like it can go up and down dramatically now, right? When the help package ends, when companies maybe close down and lose. But it's like many other situations, there's also opportunities. And I think you as entrepreneurs will be quite key to have the short-term rental industry to actually be able to have a brighter future than we can just right now, when we look out and the sky is dark, that we actually see short-term rental professionalization, new patterns. That's quite much to learn. So thank you again, CheKin. Thank you again, Guesty, Doinn, LuggageHero for being part of this discussion. The European Holiday Home Association, we've never worked that hard. And Europe is in a crazy situation, so it's very, very interesting to follow how things will develop. And let's meet again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.